hold it. And then it gives me this new sub menu here. Here you have your tachometer, oil life. I'll let it boot up. Okay. Alright, what's up? So we are here today. We are in the 2024 Buick Envista, and we're going to talk about some of the important things that you need to know when driving your Buick Envista. How to access certain features, how to turn on certain things, and how to turn off certain things. Let's take a look. Alright, so one of the important things you're going to want to learn how to do is to customize and control your 8-inch gauge cluster. So if you didn't know this, you can turn the vehicle into long-term accessory mode where it won't actually turn the vehicle off. This is going to be very useful if you go to like a drive-in movie or something like that, where you need the vehicle to stay on, but you don't want to leave it running, and you don't want to have to keep turning the vehicle back on into accessory mode every 5-10 minutes for the power saver. So all you got to do is, so here on your engine start stop, you just go ahead and hold it. The light is going to turn green, and once that light turns green, you're in accessory mode and everything is on, and the accessory power is not going to turn off every few minutes the way it normally would. So let's take a look at the gauge cluster. Let's show you how to customize and control it. So as we kind of see right here, this is your standard gauge cluster here. You got your speedometer, you got your digital speedometer, you got your odometer, fuel level range, temperature, and your fuel level. You also do have your compass right here. We are pointed south. Then here you have your cruise control, you have your lane keep assist, and you have your following distance indicator. So that is pretty much the standard gauge cluster that comes with the vehicle, or that is activated with the vehicle. You can totally customize that to a certain extent. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. So the way you're going to customize that is you're going to hold down on this scroll wheel. You have the scroll wheel here on the right side. I just tap it, nothing happens. I hold it, and then it gives me this new sub menu here. And I'm able to choose between gauge 1, gauge 2, vehicle info, infotainment, clean, and I believe that's it. So let's go ahead and take a look. So this is gauge cluster 2. This is my personal favorite because it gives me a tachometer so I can see how fast my engine is turning. Very useful if you're accelerating to get onto the freeway, climbing a mountain, things like that, so you can monitor your engine speed. Here you have your tachometer, then you have all of the same instrumentation on the other. It's just rearranged. You have your temperature, and then you have your fuel right here. Let's go ahead and check out the other one. So clean, really all it is it's a digital speedometer and this random needle here that moves, but there's no reference point for it, so it's just a needle that moves, but there's no numbers or anything. So in my opinion, it's kind of useless. Let's look at infotainment. So for instance, this is a podcast that I'm listening to, the We Like Shooting Show, and it gives you the name of the podcast or the song or the artist. It doesn't give much information at all. Even if I move it to a radio station, all it's doing here is giving me the radio station and technically the name of the song, Broken Halo by Chris Stapleton. But yeah, I mean, it mimics what's on the radio here. So once again, not my favorite display. And then finally, vehicle info. Now this one in particular, this is probably my favorite between this and gauge cluster pack number 2. It gives you a lot more information. As we see here, I have my fuel economy showing, but you can change it up. I'm going to go ahead and switch it over to trip information. Go ahead and show that in the cluster. And this is all controlled here on the 11-inch infotainment display. I can show my battery voltage right there. 12.2. 12.2, that's a little bit low. It's supposed to be 12.6 to 13.6. You can see your tire pressure real time, showing cluster, oil life. And this is kind of the weak point of this gauge cluster. It's a nice, beautiful 8-inch display, very good resolution, quality is very good. And there's a lot of space that it could totally be using, but it wastes a lot of that space. I don't know why, but you can only have one of these information screens on the gauge cluster at one time. But if we look here, there's plenty of space to put another one of these guys here, or put a horizontal one up here, something here, even something in here. It's just a lot of wasted space, and I'm hoping that they will release some sort of update that lets you kind of customize it, because this thing is just begging to be able to like mimic the gauge pack here, and then you can like move stuff around. It's just begging for that as a feature. But right now, I mean, it's fine, it gets the job done, but it's just a little disappointing from the customization standpoint. Okay, so let's talk about turning off some of the feature sets. So in this vehicle, you could turn off the traction control, but unlike most vehicles, it's not like a dedicated button. It's actually here in the infotainment system. So here on the infotainment system, these 5 buttons on the side, no matter what you're doing, those will always be visible. One of those buttons that is always visible is here, TC. TC stands for traction control, and this is the control that's going to let you turn traction control off, turn traction control and electronic stability control off, or turn them both on. For the most part, always recommend just run with both of them on. See, something else that you might need to turn on or turn off is the automatic start-stop system. So down here we have the buttons here, right here. This is your button for the start-stop. Here in the gauge pack, it says off, on. So this is a point of confusion for some people, because to turn on the feature of automatic start-stop, you have to have it so that the light is off. So it confuses people because they think it should be lit for the vehicle to be doing the automatic start-stop. But in reality, the feature is to turn off the automatic start-stop. So when the light is on, that means the feature of deactivating automatic start-stop is on. So if you think about it that way, it makes a lot more sense. So another system that you're going to want to sometimes turn off is the lane keep assist. So this is the button for the lane keep assist. It is simple. Lights on, system is on. Lights off, system is off. Situations where you're going to want to turn that off is if you're driving on a street that doesn't have very good, very defined lines, or that had road work where they poured like the tar and it's got like a black line that is not the actual line that you need to follow. This system will be fooled by those instances and will try to take control from you. It's not super aggressive, but if you're not expecting it, it can come as a surprise. So, and then finally, one thing we want to touch on is the adaptive cruise control. Now, obviously we're not driving, so we're not going to demonstrate how to do that, but we can show you how to turn it on and how to switch over from adaptive cruise control to normal cruise control. And that is, of course, if your vehicle is equipped with adaptive cruise control. Here on our steering wheel, on the left side, we have the controls for the adaptive cruise control, or just for cruise control in general. We have our cruise control on and off. Cruise control cancel, then we have our resume and set. Pretty much standard for a cruise control system, but with my adaptive cruise control system, I have one additional button. This is the following distance gap adjustment. You will have this button regardless of if you have adaptive cruise control or not. It's just a matter of, are you changing the following distance for adaptive cruise control, or are you changing the following distance for forward collision alert? The standard cruise control function of this vehicle is adaptive cruise control. So if you go ahead and activate your cruise control, by default it should go into adaptive cruise control. If you don't have it, obviously it's going to go into standard cruise control. Now, but for those of us that have adaptive cruise control and you want to move into normal cruise control, you got to do one extra button press. So you've turned it on, it's on there. You're going to do this. You're going to hold down this button. You're going to hold down the cancel cruise control button for a couple of seconds. If we do it here, it doesn't do anything, obviously. But once I hold it down, we now see the message, regular cruise control available. And so what that has done, that has pretty much moved the vehicle into normal cruise control. So now that I've already switched the vehicle into normal cruise control mode, the question is, when I turn the vehicle off, let's reset the vehicle by opening the door, letting the system turn off. Let's turn the vehicle back on. Will it automatically default to adaptive cruise control, or will it default to my last setting? I'm not actually sure. Let's take a look. We'll go ahead and start the vehicle. Okay. Now I'm gonna let it boot up. Okay. I'm going to do the thing where I hold down the cancel cruise control button. It'll either switch back to adaptive cruise control, or it will switch over to normal cruise control. So depending on what it does will tell me how it works when you switch to one system or the other and you reboot the car. Let's go ahead and hold down our cancel cruise button and let's see what it says. So it says adaptive cruise available. All right, so that's really good to know. And you turn the vehicle off, walk away, go do whatever you got to do, come back, and you go back into cruise control. You will be in the cruise control mode that you left the vehicle in before you turn the vehicle off. All right, and that was just a few quick tips on things you might want to be aware of and know how to do when you're driving your 2024 Buick Envista. And before we end this video, just 2 quick tips. IntelliBeam automatic high beams and the automatic headlight system. How do you override? How do you turn it on? How do you turn it off? To turn off your automatic high beams, here on your turn signal stock, you have this button here that says A. Press it to turn it off, press it to turn it back on. Short, sweet, simple, directly to the point. Very similar to the automatic headlights. So, automatic headlights, how do you do that? So, down here to the left of your steering wheel, you have your headlight control. Automatic, I believe these are running lamps and parking lamps. I'm actually not quite sure what those symbols mean, but they are all related to headlights. And finally, you have the most important part, automatic light control. You'll notice it's a toggle, so you go, but it goes back to auto. So the way it works is when you do this, it'll say off or on. And I'd say for the most part, you're going to want to leave it in auto, but there are those times at night when you want to be maybe a little bit more discreet. You don't want to wake people up at a campsite. You're going to want to turn off that automatic headlight control, and you're going to either move into just your running lights, parking lights, or turn it off altogether. Even if you have your headlights off, unlike older cars, your dashboard is still going to be illuminated because it's a freaking LCD screen. So be aware of that, because when you turn off the headlights, it still illuminates the gauge cluster. Just like here, it's an LED screen, LCD screen, so it's going to be on regardless. So be aware of that, but that's probably the reason why you have so many people driving at nighttime when they have their headlights off. Their gauge clusters are still illuminated. So, alrighty, and with that, that's pretty much it. That was just a couple of important tips and tricks that you're going to want to know when driving your 2024 Buick Envista. Very good car overall. Like I said, some of the features are a little hidden and more obscure as to how to get to, whereas in the past it was simply like a press and play kind of situation. Not so much here. Sometimes you got to dig for features. All right, and with that, I'm going to get out of here. Windy AF. Catch you all on the flip.